Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I want to have a look at Filecoin, but I do want to use this video as well to address a lot of comments I've been getting over the last week or two, even the last few days, of basically people saying that my bearishness and my hesitance is unjustified, and that this move here is basically the bull run, and I should stop being, I should just buy a load of alts basically, and 20x my money. And while I still stand by my opinion of we will have a pullback soon, and I'm going to use Filecoin to address this, I'm choosing Filecoin just because it's been a month since I've covered Filecoin, and I try to cover alts monthly. So if you check my channel, you will see previously. So I'm not just cherry picking, it is random. And I know you're also going to say, well, just because Filecoin hasn't outperformed, look at Solana. That's 3x'd in like the last 2 months. And look at Avalanche, that did 60% this week. While yeah, they have done that, I've always said that there will be altcoins, short-term and long-term, that outperform Bitcoin during sort of bear market times. And also, I will say that we've had these exact moves before, and I've said this in previous videos. I've said, when I started getting this sort of criticism of me being bearish, I said we've seen this exact move 4 years ago. At the exact point in the Bitcoin 4-year cycle, we've seen literally the same pump happen. And I'll note as well that people said here, when we came to this point here, people were still saying bull run, bull run, bull run. And then we had a pullback down and they blamed it on XYZ. People, last cycle for the 2019 sort of summer peak, people were saying bull run, bull run, bull run, all the way up. And then when we pulled back down, it was XYZ fault. And then when we had this rally, it was like, oh, this is the correction, now we're in a bull run. And then we had this pull down. And we'll get into comparing these moves very shortly, but I do want to just say that I still think this is just a pump. And we see, like I did say a few videos ago, could have even been the Chainlink video, the previous video, where I said every 2 years we have a pump, and usually one of them is a bull market pump, and one of them is a pre-bull market pump, end of bear market pump. And even if you look at this coin, it's just been like a lower high all the way down. Lower high, sorry for these arrows. I'm just getting them out quickly because I'll get rid of them in a moment. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Technically higher high here, just pointing it out. And then lower high. And then now we've put in another higher high, but really it's a lower high from here, lower high from here, lower high, lower high, lower high. So I'm still sort of lower high territory. Now I do agree in thinking that within the next few months we will see some sort of a reversal. Even just looking at this blue zone that I've drawn out, this sort of date and price grid, we can see they're the same. I cloned it from this one here. So I took, about 200 days before the halving. I moved it over here just to sort of give us an idea of, what sort of movements and ranges we can expect and compare them from previous cycles. So we can see, I just want you to know that these blue boxes are basically the same. And getting straight into the current movement, we can see that Filecoin has had a great rally. If we take from where we sort of bounced off this orange, which is a key support level, it's been around basically for the whole of Filecoin. It's about $3.10, 11 cents. If we take the date that we bounced off this up to our current high, we can see it's about an 82%, because I've missed a bit here. We'll say 80% just for easy numbers to use, okay? We've had an 80% rally up over 25 days. If we go to the previous cycle, and during the same time frame, sort of October, late October to early November is when it happened here. And if we take a look at what happened here, it's a bit later, but it's still mid-October to sort of slightly later November. So basically the same time, almost the same time. And you can almost blame this on the cycles being a few weeks after each other. So this one is a slightly earlier cycle than this. So this isn't technically 4 years, it's 3 years, 11 months. Whatever way you want to figure that out or calculate that or justify that, that's fine. Just general slight differences is what I think it is, to be honest with you. We can see that currently, we've had an 80% move up over 25 days. If we take a look at where we moved up from this orange line and to the first high that we had, it was a 120 move over, over a 28-day move, I think it was. Yeah, 120 over 4 weeks, okay? So far pretty similar. The days are basically the same, 25, 28 days. I'm just going to account for slight variation between cycle to cycle, because there will always be slight variation between cycle to cycle, whether it's percentage or dates. There will always be variation, always. But generally, we'll see that macro-wise, stuff plays out pretty similarly. So 28 days up, 120% move up. What happens next here? We see here, actually no, before we get into that, I do want to address that we saw different moves here, and the move up here is much bigger than the one that we're currently having, or have currently had so far. And if you want to say that it is going to play out this way, 28 days here, we only have like 3 days left of a rally, whatever. If you're going exactly by the book, I'd say we've put in our heights already, because we've already put in sort of a move like this, and now we've had, I will point out as well, we've had like a couple of days of volatile movement. And if we look back over here, it was all green until we had a couple of days of volatile movement. So maybe I'd say we could get another green day after this. I don't know. But basically, it's playing out pretty similarly to what's happened here. So if you're wondering why have we had less of a move, if this is the top, I would just go back again to the diminishing returns that I've talked about in previous videos as well, where as cycles go on and cryptocurrencies have been around for longer, their market caps grow, and of course when bear markets happen, liquidity goes down. So the same liquidity that would have moved this, Filecoin 120% here might only move it 80% here, because market cap has grown. So therefore you need more money to move Filecoin more, the price of Filecoin more. So, and we don't have that money now because it's a bear run, so we're only getting less moves. And we will see that kind of this 2/3 of a move, that's what it is, 80% to 120% is 2/3. We'll see this 2/3 kind of occurs a little bit, but kind of not enough to sort of justify saying, yes, we're 2/3 less volatile this cycle, because there are just discrepancies. But anyway, pointing that out, if we take a look at where we double topped here, we can say that it was roughly, I'll just get this right, from here to here, 16 days. And if you want to count 17 days as well, where we sort of came back up or came down from this level. So 16, 17 days later, we put in another double top. If you want to take that to happen this cycle, we can see 16, 17 days brings us to the end of November, 30th of November. So basically, by December, we could have a pullback up. Now, we might have a pullback up on the 2nd of December. I don't know. Again, like, stuff is never the exact same. We might not have a pullback up at all. We might not have a double top. We might have a higher high. I don't know, to be honest with you. But that's what happened last cycle. And then after this sort of double top, we came right back down to this orange line after 33 days. And it translated to a 55% drop down. So if we come back to here, if we come back to here and we say from this high, wait, did I measure that from, sorry, I'll check. I can't remember if I measured that from the first high or the second high, and this is important. If we go from the first high down to the orange, 50 days basically, give or take, and a 54% move. So if we go here and we take a move like this, and we'll make it the exact same, 50 days and somewhere around a 50% drop, not even 55 like it was on that, but it brings us well below into this sort of deep value level. Again, I don't think we'll see that. I think we'll see a sort of 2/3 narrative play out. So if we see like a, I don't know what 2/3 of 50 is, but I'm guessing it's somewhere around 37%. It'll be somewhere close to 40% anyway. If we see that play out again, we're coming back down to this sort of $3.50 level. And we can see we've actually had resistance here before, not much, but it's still a psychological level where people can see that at $3.50, Filecoin was rejected quite a few times before it broke out of this. So we could potentially find support here if we see this sort of 2/3 narrative play out and it comes back down to $3.50. But it doesn't really have to do that. Kind of just interesting to point out. And again, this whole time was somewhere around 2 months. I want to say 70 days, give or take. 77 days, 80 days, we'll say, to be generous. So it sort of happened within an 80-day time period and basically closed up before the beginning of 2024. Closed up before the pre-halving year. Again, like, if we take where we are here on this orange line, say 77 days later, we see we do sort of break into the beginning of next year. But we do often see that cryptocurrencies don't do well towards the end of the year. End of the year, a lot of altcoins, a lot of cryptos don't perform brilliantly. And now we're technically Filecoin, like, you know, from, if we go to the end of the year, we can see it sort of, like, it looked very bearish on the way down. And we can see as well, another thing I will point out here, is that as Filecoin tended down, it got extremely volatile. So every time we put in a high, Filecoin became extremely volatile. A high here, extremely volatile. You know, just day trading sideways a bit, slightly upwards, big sell-off. Suddenly becomes volatile, suddenly becomes even more volatile as these highs are in. And then, like, volatility ultimately ends up being bad for Filecoin during this time period, because if we just, like, look at what's happened, we can see it tends down all the way until 2020, and then once 2020 came along, Filecoin did slowly start to pick up, even though it still put in lower lows early 2020. And again, you can go back to the COVID-19 made this happen, big sell-off COVID-19. I think this was going to happen anyway, because we'd seen it happen literally like a couple of weeks before, the exact same moves basically. And I think we can still see something very similar play out here. Like I said, like, we've had take a look at this, we've had a 80% move up. Why can't we have a 50% move down? Because a 50% move down is all we need. Like, we don't even need 50%, we need less of a percent move down. And in bear markets, it's much easier for a price to move down than it is to go up. And I'm here saying, well, you know, we're not in a bear market, whatever. And no, it won't do this, it won't take this move down, it's impossible. It's not impossible. We've seen it so many times. Like from here, we have a 46% move down in under a week, okay? Over here, if we take this move, we have 35% move in 3 days. If we take, like, over here, wrong button, we get a 35% move over 9 days. If we take here, we get a 38% move over 9 days. If we take here, we get a 30% move. Like, over the last year, we've seen so many of these. Like this move down here, this move down here, minus 50% over, but less than 3 weeks it took. We've had, give or take, 3 weeks of decent price movement. More, about a month, but about 3 weeks, probably 4 weeks since this took off. Why can't we see the same play out like we did last cycle? Like, that's what I'm trying to get at here. We saw this happen last cycle, and everyone was calling Bullrun then. Like I said at the beginning of the video, everyone was calling Bullrun here. But if we pull out these sort of comparisons, we see that we have our low, okay, before our high. So we have a low, and we put in a high. These correlate here to a low, and then the high, okay? And then, you know, everyone's saying Bullrun, 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 all the way up. We get a rejection, X reason we didn't climb. And we come back down to sort of deep value, okay, or a good buy range, okay. We then, once we come to this range, we have a rally again, which is what we're seeing now, which is this high, correlating to this high, and then everyone's saying Bullrun, Bullrun, Bullrun all the way up. But when we get a pullback, maybe like the one we saw here, where we come back down to this orange line again, people are saying, well, this is the reason that we couldn't go up, or, you know, XYZ. And what basically, again, I pointed out this volatile movement before, but what in my opinion it ultimately means is that there's bullish movement here, and there's bullish buyers, and there's still bullish buyers, but now there's suddenly a lot of people selling, because there's a lot of people that have made money. Like, if you look at Bitcoin, you can see that, it's the same thing happening. We've had these green days, but suddenly there's like big red sticks, big red candles that are showing up. And what this shows to me is that, like, it's kind of, we're at like where we were May of last year on Bitcoin, basically. So everyone who's bought after that time frame, you know, around Christmas time, FTX time, March time, whenever, they're all in green currently. And they're seeing this big rally. And if they're smart, they've looked back at this time here and they've gone, oh, this is most likely just a move like this. And the price will come back down relatively soon. So I might as well sell and make a bit of money here and then, you know, buy the same amount or put all of it back into Bitcoin when it comes down to this sort of a range. So they're selling now, and this is what this hesitance has translated to. Like, this is why we're seeing maybe a bit of a pullback here on Filecoin. And like, I that's what I personally think is happening, personally. And then you'll hear, well, Michael Saylor has said this, and whoever has said this, so that it's the bull run now. I mean, it's in their best interest to hype up the crypto market as much as possible so that they can sell you their cryptocurrency once it's worth more. Like, that is, so they need the price to go up, and they will do everything they can to get it up. So with their audience, they will be as bullish as possible with Bitcoin, whatever it is. And I'm not saying like you can't trust them, but just be aware of this bias. And you could say the same for me. You could say, well, he owns some of the cryptos that he makes videos on, and maybe he's trying to influence the market with his 100 views a video, But no, like for me, I make these videos because, first of all, it's very interesting for me to see whether my predictions came true. So in a year's time, if I'm looking back at this, or if in 4 years' time, and we're in the same sort of time frame, and I'm looking at what I said here, and I'm seeing whether it played out how I thought it would, and if I was right, I'm more likely to stick to that strategy. It helps me in the future. So I'm helping myself in the future. I'm making it easier for myself. Also, another reason I make these videos is because it's just the best way to learn something is to teach it. I think Albert Einstein said that. I don't know, to be honest with you. He probably did. But I kind of wholeheartedly agree. The best way to understand something is to teach it to other people, in my opinion. And that's why I'm sort of making these videos. These videos sort of hold me accountable because I'm spreading this information, and hopefully you're finding it interesting. But it also means I have to have it to a certain level of research. I can't just, record a video and go in blind because I'll have nothing to talk about. I won't have any points to show you. I won't have any interesting comparisons. So I make these videos mainly for me, in the hopes that it'll help me in the future, and also that whoever finds it can hopefully get a bit of information that helps them. And again, this is why I make these videos, not to like rain on anyone's parade, not to shit on anyone who's like made profits during this time. I really commend you if you've made profits during this time. I think it's really good, and I'm happy for you. But I'm just saying, for all the moon boys that have maybe only been in the market for 1 or 2 years and have now suddenly seen this big pump and have heard everybody saying, yeah, this is what bull runs look like, we get this every week, I would say that I don't think you've lived through these bear markets. I probably would have started getting properly interested into the crypto space around this time, properly. It was kind of just before the big bull run. And I didn't buy any crypto during this time. I sort of, funnily enough, I waited until like late sort of like August, September time before I bought anything. And then I quickly realized we were not in a bull run anymore and sold it all. So my first introduction to the crypto space, putting money into it was negative. And like ever since then, ever since I've had skin in the game, Bitcoin and the whole altcoin space has only gone down, basically. Now, I haven't held crypto through this whole period. Like, I sold it pretty quick when I realized shit was, I keep swearing, sorry, when stuff was going down. But like, I've been aware and following the charts since around here, 2020, I would say, is when I really got interested. Because I was interested in cryptos before, but mainly just the computer, the technology side of them. But again, that's kind of not the point. I'm just trying to illustrate that people who haven't been around for long are saying it's rally time because maybe they've bought here and now they're in, big reds. Basically, their portfolio is red, and they're hoping that the price will go up because they've said it. You say it and hopefully it comes true. If you say it enough, it does come true sort of mentality. And because they've heard all these famous sort of Bitcoin hodlers that, don't really hodl Bitcoin. They probably sell a lot of it at the top and then buy a lot of it a year later. They've heard them say that, yeah, this is the bull run. Or their favorite influencer that promotes Pepe coin every week and Dogecoin and Doge Pepe and all this has said this is now the bull run and buy these cryptos to make 100x. I'm not knocking you, but I'm just saying, like, anyone who's been in this space for a while, like, it's not that you don't recognize these moves, but it's just, it's hard to look maybe in the right place. And we can see this is basically playing out the same. Like, again, like if we zoom in here, we can see that we do end the year negative from where we are here anyway. Like, we finished the year down here on this orange after having this pump. Now again, this is a bit earlier than what's going on here technically if you're going by months of the year, but if you're going on by Bitcoin halving as well, it's a bit early. This one's late. So maybe we'll see sort of mid-January we might see as return back to this orange. I don't know, I can't say for sure, but I'm just saying, like, try not to get absorbed by the FOMO. Sometimes sitting these moves out is the best thing because it removes your chance of getting burnt. So if you're picking up crypto now, maybe just take a step back and look at these charts and go, hey, we've had a move like this before, exactly like this before here, and after this move, almost instantly we went right back down to where we were. I'm not saying we have to go right back down to where we were, but I'm saying we will probably have some sort of a significant pullback. And if I was gonna put a price range on it, I would say below $4 for Filecoin. And that will translate into different things for Bitcoin. I personally think that we'll probably finish the year with Bitcoin around 30k, possibly 32k, I don't know. But that's where I would price it. I do believe we've sort of put in our last high for the year, and Bitcoin has put it in like its yearly high. That's kind of where I want to get at. Moving on to the FIL Bitcoin pair, it's a very similar story, and I will get into that, but first I do want to thank today's sponsor, FairDesk. FairDesk is an exchange, and if you're interested, you can click the link in the description for a 5% deposit bonus, and with no KYC, you can start trading straight away. You can maybe go pick up some link on FairDesk, which I know you can do, which has sort of shown itself to potentially be a good hedge against the crypto space during this time, because we saw that in that link video, go check it out, but TLDR, link went up sort of during this time from this point onwards for about a year, and it went up on its Bitcoin pair, showing, like, implying, well, saying that it outperformed Bitcoin during this time. So we might see something like this also play out. It's also just broken out of, actually no, go watch the video. It's very interesting, I think. And like I said, it goes back to that thing of sometimes there are altcoins that outperform Bitcoin, and whether it's long term or short term, things can be different. Things don't always follow the Bitcoin is best during bear markets if you're on crypto exposure rule. Sometimes there are exceptions that are altcoins. But getting into Filecoin on its Bitcoin pair, we can see that it basically has just trended down since its high in 2001. I don't want to consider this a high because I feel like it's like market manipulation. Like, it's very, if we take it from its high to its low, a 2,500% move in one day is probably not natural price movement, and I would say it's just some sort of whale move. So he was probably buying up or something. I'm not too sure. But basically, it has gotten down on its BTC ever since its peak on its USD pair, and it's just sort of like traveled down this descending wedge pattern. And now, like, here again, we are seeing it test the resistance a lot more now down here. Like, we have come up, pretty frequently, not frequently, but we've come up again. And I did say, or I have been saying in these videos, that Q4 2023, Q1 2024 is when we'll probably see some sort of a breakout in the altcoin space against the dominance, where we'll see some sort of a retraction on the dominance. Now, whether that's just Ethereum that outperforms BTC, or whether it's like, the top 25 altcoins that start doing well on their Bitcoin pair and take away from the Bitcoin dominance, or whether it's the whole crypto market, I can't say. But ultimately, we're still in this sort of downward wedge. Maybe altcoins do break out here. Maybe this is where they break out, and we see sort of a reversal like I've been talking about. But again, it's only been downward price action, and we're still not too far off our lows. We can see we've actually come back to where we were rejected here. And again, to point out again, to be bearish, we're at 1,500 Satoshis here during this sort of same time period in sort of mid-November. We were at 5,500 Satoshis. So Filecoin hasn't done well on its Bitcoin pair. Now maybe we see a move back up, and during the bull market in 2025, maybe Filecoin tops out on its Bitcoin pair somewhere around this 5,000 Satoshi level. I don't know. I don't see it ever coming back to sort of this 22,000 level, but I can always be wrong. Always be wrong. I do want to point out that on the Bitcoin dominance, probably still have a while to go, because if we take a look here, very quick look, we can see that once we broke above this orange line, we stayed above this orange line, and we eventually came up to the 0.618 Fibonacci level that we put in during that cycle. So you can see we started off here, this was our high, we came down to our low, we set our low, and then we finished off at the 0.618 level. Here we put in our high, we come down to our low, we could potentially finish up at our 0.618 Fibonacci level. And if we take a look at where we currently are, even though we've recently had a pullback, we're only 15%, 16% of a move away from getting to this dominance level. And we could potentially get it around the halving time, where a lot of dominance sort of floods into and then it's sort of out of Bitcoin. We'll see how it plays out. Go watch the Bitcoin dominance video if you want like both sides of the coin on the Bitcoin dominance. I made it about a month ago, I think. It's Bitcoin ETH video. Very interesting in my opinion, very useful to sort of navigate through the crypto space. And funnily enough, it was before this pump, and kind of what I said did kind of come true in it. Dominance has still gone up, and even though again we've had this pullback, I still do see us going up ultimately. But again, that's enough of the dominance. It's a Filecoin video, but I think I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. If there's anything I've missed, let me know down in the comments. If there's anything you noticed while I recorded this video that I didn't make a point out of, comment it down below, because I always miss stuff. You know, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, far from it, and I love chatting to you guys as well. So I'll talk to you in the next one. Take care and peace.